What is complementarity? Look, as you probably all see, I'm not the most structured thinker, right? I'm an associative thinker. Did you notice? Right? So I am clear that I need an editor, or an organizer, or a structured person, or somebody who says, stop, that. And I can only continue do what I do because I have somebody else who is doing that which I don't. The complementarity is the possibility for each person to be who they are. So complementarity is your partner allowing you to be who you are at your best, without having to try to do that which you can learn, but it will never be your second nature. And I think that when you hire new people, you hire along this complementarity thing. And it's not just that the parts make the whole, but that the whole cannot exist without the parts. It can't exist. It can survive, it can hobble along, it can, because you need to in the beginning, but at some point, you really need the various pieces. A family has parents, spouses, children, friends, grandparents, schools. It's an entire ecology. Everybody understands that collective thinking. It's the same in a company.
It sounds like you're suggesting we should be screening for some very candid sense of self. I mean, it's important that people really do be able to acknowledge their faults and also be able to kind of communicate them in order for this balance of complementarities to work.
Yes. Yes, but I would go a step further. It's not just that you have to acknowledge faults. I think, if I said that trust is probably the number one, I think the number two of any relational system is the ability to take responsibility for your contribution to the pie, the good and the bad. And generally, people confuse responsibility with blame or self-blame, rather than, that's it, the ability to own myself as a flawed person and still hold myself in high regard. I fucked up, I messed up, I should have done this, I wished I had thought of that. It's extraordinarily liberating to actually not try to be perfect. So what is the definition of self-esteem? It's the ability to see yourself as a flawed individual and still hold yourself in high regard. Flaw is the key word. You had it in the previous sentence. Once you can say, I don't know, rather than pretending or hoping, or to actually take responsibility to come to the other person, or to the team for that matter, and to just say, I didn't do this. And it's an amazing thing. When you come to me and you say, I fucked up, generally I don't say, yes, that's true. I just say, that's okay, we'll figure it out. The minute the other person takes responsibility for something, you're not branding your flag, and as you generally just say, I mean, now what shall we do? We have a problem. But it's an amazing thing. In any relational system, when people take ownership is another word.
There is something incredibly relieving when the person you're working with is somebody that, regardless of how much they may make an error of judgment or a mistake in any given instant, that regardless, you're not going to question their intentions. And once that becomes resolved, it just lets so much pressure out of the system, and those, the issues you were describing of finding flaws in their strengths and turning, and becoming nitpicky, that actually, I think, dissipates, and once you cross that threshold to that, really fundamental trust, it just opens up a lot of potential by dialing down a lot of the, little problems that pop up. The you versus we distinction, sort of, you've got to have your mindset framed around, we're in this together, we're on the same team, and as long as you are pointing fingers, it leads to these sorts of unravelings.
Or you think like this: every relationship has three components, you, me, us. And the us actually encompasses me. So if I'm going to do something, one of the best screeners is, if I do this now, if I say this now, what will this do to us? Even though I may be totally right, but I'm not sure it will do good to us. And if it doesn't do good to us, it doesn't do good to me. That's the real frame of thinking relationally. Relational thinking is not, I think about me, I think about you, is I think about myself as part of something of which both of us are part of, and that canopy above us, if you want, is what I'm trying to protect.